Happy Memorial Day, folks. Happy Memorial Day. And if it's your birthday today, happy birthday. There was a little doubt among allied U.S.Z. and U.S. commanders that the U.S. and J Nation commanders that the revolt would eventually be put down. Uprising. Nobody at the top weekend. Sorry folks, just had to check on something. Not related to the writing, not to anybody in the house. Nobody in the top was confident enough to say that the worst was over. Things seemed spiraling out of control around the known world. And to say that things were looking brighter would be inaccurate. Right. And probably annoying to the majority of people. Annoying or insulting. Let's make some ribs tonight, folks. Some slow-cooked ribs. Let's see. I think we need an extra few months of spring and summer, don't you, folks? I mean, would it be that bad if we just got that instead of winter? If winter just disappeared, I don't know. You're right, insulting the majority of people. Mike Peterson, Merc and soldier of the U.S. government, agent of the U.S. government, would have agreed. Like, imagine there was nothing more annoying than that if someone's house was on fire, burning away, the worst thing you could say to that person was that everything was going to be fine. Burning away to nothing. Imagine if someone's house was on fire, burning away to nothing. The worst thing you could say to that person was that everything was going to be fine. I can imagine if someone heard that and his house was burning, he'd punch them out. Not that Mike's house ever burned down. His house burning down was literally the one bad thing that never happened in his life. He had no shortage of misery on other fronts, in other areas, thanks to his infamous father. Let's see. Mike had heard about might get heard about violence in the USZ being committed against Jade immigrants. Okay, yeah, this is like parallel to anti-Muslim violence after 9/11. Let's see. The most infamous, most terrible incident involved two men who went on rampage. Involved two white men who went on rampage at a jade settlement on the Zeton West Coast. The two men, armed with assault rifles and grenades, stolen from a U.S. Army base, just went nuts, attacking this settlement. They headed up the main street, firing their rifles, tossing grenades indiscriminately. Were there massacres against Japanese people in America in response to Pearl Harbor? I don't know. Indiscriminately. We gotta look at these things as like separate incidents, you know? Like a person who would go on a rampage like that, they were just probably itching for an excuse for such a thing, you know? And when something like Pearl Harbor happens and they target like the Japanese afterwards, you know, it'd be like, you know, it just like, you know, they get to clothe themselves in a bit of patriotism or something. I don't know. Concentrated indiscriminately. Some men fought back, but the assailants had military training and cut those men down. It took the response from the military to end the massacre, which claimed 50 lives, including women and children. The two assailants left no manifesto or suicide letter behind. Both forced the arriving troops and police to cut them down. Suicide by cop. Yep. Police. Do we consider Gestapo police? It's a bit like calling the SS soldiers. They were men in uniform, yeah, but there was no honor or anything with them, you know? There was the Waffen SS, who were like fanatical Nazi soldiers, but they were, and while a lot of them fought bravely, they also fought ruthlessly, and committed many massacres, and many of them went in and out of the concentration camps as guards, so, you know, their reputation is hopelessly marred, and so is the rest of the German army, I suppose, because, you know, that myth of the clean Wehrmacht that didn't commit any atrocities, that was all the SS. Yeah, that's, since the Cold War ended, that's kind of gone out the window, and it's a good thing, too, because, you know, they don't want people who commit atrocities to get a pass in any way, shape, or form. We should treat all this stuff equally and fairly. Also, Ryan posted Rangers to cut them down. The two slain assassins. The two slain assassins left. Now, after both forced the Iranian to cut them down, they didn't kill any troops and cops, besides a few Jade police of the settlement. Might wondered what they would have said. If they were captured alive. But he doubted they wanted to. They wanted that in the slightest. But it was clear. It was clear neither man wanted to stick around and face accusations. Or face the families of their victims in court. Or see court in any way. Or ever see the inside of the court. Clearly, neither man wanted to stick around and face the families of their victims in court, or see the insides of a court. Mike had been in court more than a few times, including and had faced trials where if he had lost, he would have likely lost his life as well. But Mike came back in those instances. People who pronounced his life over were instead. And now Mike was in higher standing than most of the people, men who had accused him of crimes. Mike kept forgetting the names of the men who committed those atrocities and massacre. He supposed that was appropriate. It's appropriate. Better to remember the names of the victims. Though Mike wasn't very good. Jade names. A lot of them were very, very similar and pretty damn hard to tell a female Jade name from a male one. He heard most of the victims were men. Mike had heard that some Wuian and Japanese people had also been killed, beaten and killed in response to the Jade incident. Mike doubted those people were mistaken for Jade, since the Jade had looked different, quite different from other Asian races, having gray skin and yellow eyes. Mike imagined those beatings where people besides behind those beatings and murders were just looking for an excuse to act out their violent impulses. Mike wasn't fighting for those Zedins. He was fighting for the good people. Good people back home. The people who lived in peace and never hurt a soul in their lives. He supposed looking at it that way. He was mostly fighting. He was fighting for those people, the Jade settlements. The ones who were murdered. How big was the settlement? I don't know, but 50 people lost to a community of any size, unless it's a city. That's quite a disaster in my view. inciting on the Jade Continent the uprising. The uprising on the Jade Continent had dwarfed what was going on. There had been some other terrorist incidents as well. Terrorist incidents as well. Some group in Selgoria, the terrorists in Selgoria had in Gracis, the capital of Selgoria, had conducted a bombing and shooting attack against a crowded theater. The Sellian police attempted to storm the place and save everyone, but it didn't work out too well. But they were bloodily repelled. A cult, an obscure cult known as the Cult of the Teacher, claimed responsibility for the attack. The Sellian army came in afterwards, and they managed to kill the terrorists and rescue a few hundred people, hostages. Responsibility for the attack. They apparently worshipped some woman, some superhuman Klekon woman who died back around the time of World War III. He was apparently quite potent, powerful, like Wilhelmina or Gloria or Dominique Bridgington. But she was gone, but she was dead now. Which the terrorists were demanding. After the attack, the cult demanded an audience with Dominique Bridgington, not Vert. We gotta keep Vert in the language because, you know, that's her last name. If I change her name, I will see what Vert is in this new language I made up. Maybe it sounds better than Vert. Probably not, though. It'll probably give me some stupid three-letter answer. Almost like, you know, it does make sense that a language, different size of words between languages, you know, like the word for hello in English versus Japan. After he attacked the man nonsense, they wanted her. They openly demanded that she release, that she use her powers to resurrect their fallen god. As what the hell was her name again? A dim down as a placeholder. They openly demanded she use who had died. Dominique was well known to have the power to raise the dead. So far, Dominique had not replied to their demands, which likely meant there would be more terrorist actions. The terrorists promised a reign of terror if Dominique did not meet with them. Mike supposed if he was in her shoes, he would meet with them. This exposition stuff is the easiest type of writing, folks, so you know. In my experience, you know. Don't have to put any emotion or thought into it at all. I'm just basically stating information. I consider these to be like almost like bits of plot, something you see in a history textbook. I'd kind of like the wording of history textbooks, though, because, you know, I try to incorporate in it to make this seem more authentic, you know, more real. To do that, you should use more dates. You should use dates, realistic responses, and, well, you know, if it's a book, and it would say in our world, real locations, real people. Talk about LBJ, talk about the Gulf of Tonkin incident, talk about Pearl Harbor, talk about the Cold War, talk about Cuban Missile Crisis, talk about pop music, you know, and so on and so on. Yeah, I'm not gonna put the heater away this year, even though it's summer now, because, you know, a heater comes in handy for other things, like, you know, after you take a cold shower, and after you take a shower, and, you know, you're cold after a shower, usually. Helps you dry off. I don't have a hair dryer. Do men keep hair dryers? I don't know. Yeah, I think they do. Men who care about their hair, I guess. I suppose if he was in her shoes, he would meet with them. He wouldn't make any promises. A reign of terror of them. Did not meet them. He wouldn't make any promises to them. He wouldn't resurrect. He wouldn't make any promises. Negotiating with terrorists rarely seem to work out. The cult was apparently based in Camjaclack. And there were rumors that they had hired there were rumors that some group, that various groups had hired superhumans to try the cult, apparently based Camjaclack. Apparently they must not have expected Dominique to show up to face them willingly, since there was a rumor they had hired a team of superhuman mercs to capture her. To capture Dominique. Mike had heard of teams of superhumans going after Dommy in the past, it usually didn't work out. It didn't work out well for them. Mike imagined it wouldn't work out for whoever this new team of superhumans were or was. Let's see. The fierceness of the fighting, of the uprising on the Jade Continent was dwarfed anything going on in Kamja Clack at the moment. And Mike knew things were hairy over there. He heard several fire bases had been wiped out by guerrilla attacks. And on the Jade Continent, several camps had been destroyed by the Jade guerrillas, including Camp X2, which Mike was en route alone to inspect. The enemy had destroyed it and moved on. Mike was hoping to find some survivors, including maybe an old friend, Franz Miller, Chromish Colonel, who had fought in several wars, including one that Mike had missed, the war between the nationalist woos and the equalindist woos. That's the Chinese Civil War there. It started up again after World War II, and the nationalists lost it hugely. I'm still kind of not sure how they lost so badly. That communism is a hell of a drug, I guess. And the nationalists were kind of authoritarian and prickish. But of course the communists were the same way, so I don't know. I guess the communists just had a better game. They must have been like used car salesmen or something, like James Wood and Hercules, like, I don't know. Whatever the Chinese equivalent of that would be. Anyway, folks, signing off here. Enjoy your Memorial Day, and have a good Monday, too. 3-day weekend, right? Woo.